Hey guys, welcome to this week's episode of Study Break. I'm finally back to my regular programming after 2 very hectic weeks, so truly, everybody, thank you for bearing with me for the past 2 weeks. But yeah, no, this is gonna be more of like a lighthearted video because I feel like the last 2 videos that I've been making have been like not as lighthearted as I would want them to be. But yeah, no, I was like thinking about this the other day. I was like, I've talked a lot about traveling, and as somebody that has like to travel, that has traveled to around 22 to 25 countries, I think I'm pretty qualified to talk about my solo travel stories and about traveling, with my family. So let's get into it. So, a common question I get asked is what is my favorite, like, let's just start off from there. What are, like, my favorite places to, like, travel that I've traveled to? And I'd say definitely one of the ones that is, like, my absolute favorite that I've, like, traveled to has to be Japan. There's a reason why I went back for the second time. I'm literally wearing, like, a hoodie that I got from there. Like, this is literally, like, Mount Fuji. Like, the cherry blossoms, and I have to figure out what that one says. But, anyways. Japan was amazing. I loved it when I went. Everybody there is so nice. The food is amazing. And honestly, the second time that I went back, I went as, like, a solo traveler, which I'm going to get into that in a second. But honestly, like, Japan is amazing. Their museums are great, too. Like, I visited one of their art museums, and their art museums are really cool. I would definitely check those out. Maybe not if it's, like, your first time, because, like, it is something that is really cool, but it's not, like, something that's, like, I have to see. Actually, no, it is really cool, and it's, like, a must-see, but not if it's, like, your first time. Like, if it's your first time, Japan has enough things to do if it's your first time. I just went to an art museum because, like, I was by myself traveling, and my family isn't really, like, a museum family. It's mainly just me that I enjoy going to museums. So I was like, you know what? I've never been to an art museum I've been to art museums in Paris, in London, in like a lot of European cities that have like, also like in Barcelona, that have a lot of the really big artwork, like Picasso, the Mona Lisa, Monet, Renoir, like a lot of really famous like sculptors, painters, but I never really thought about like Japan. And so I went to like one of their like national, I think it was like their national art museum if I'm not wrong, but it was really cool. Everybody's super nice, and like now like I'll get into the part of like me like solo travel. So I've done, not counting a lot of the trips that I did when I was abroad, I've done, I think, a total of like 2 solo trips. The first one that I ever took was to Copenhagen. That one I took after a really bad breakup because if there's one thing you should know about me is that if there is anything going on with my life, just know that by the next week I will be on a plane or I would have already bought a plane ticket. That is just how it goes with me. I remember I went to Copenhagen with just a carry-on. And I flew Lufthansa, actually, and it was nice. I had a layover, like, in Munich. So that was great. And I was like, Copenhagen is one of those places that's, like, really, really safe. And and everybody there speaks Spanish. No, everybody there speaks English. Everybody there was, like, also really welcoming, too. Like, I remember I would ask them a lot, like, oh, like, your English is really, really good. Like, and a lot of them would tell me, like, oh, like, we have to study English since, like, kindergarten. Because not everybody speaks Danish. And I'm like, wait, that's really cool. So, definitely, and also, like, a female, like, solo traveler, like, I felt very safe, too. I definitely would check out, like, Next House Copenhagen. That's where I stayed, and I loved it. Like, loved it. And everybody that I know that has gone on a solo trip or like gone on a trip to Copenhagen has stayed there, and I have heard nothing but amazing reviews. I will say though, I booked the type of room that I booked was like a 4-person, like just women room with like an in-suite like bathroom. So that was really nice, and the whole like bed and everything is really modern. It's very spacious. Something that I really liked about them is that I think it was like every day around like 5 or 6 p.m., they would have a free happy hour. Like, you would go downstairs and you would like just show them like that you were a guest of like the hostel, and they would give you a free beer, and like you would get to like meet with everybody. And like, normally I'm a very extroverted person, but given the fact that this was like my first solo trip, I was like, and also coming off of a breakup, I was like a little like recluse. um that was another reason why I took the trip. I was like, like I gotta get out more. And I met these two British girls that were super sweet, and I ended up like clubbing with them literally like on my second night. Cause like the first night, I kind of I went to this like theme park called Tivoli Gardens, which is like very tiny. It's a very tiny park. Like, you could definitely do it within like half a day. Like, I went there like around 4 p.m. and I left around 8, and I feel like I did a grand majority of it. Like any theme park, there are rides that I didn't go on because they were like for little kids, and then I get scared really easily, so there were rides that I didn't go on because I thought they were really scary. But it was fun. Something about Copenhagen that I loved was the glühwein. I'm definitely saying it wrong, but it's like mulled like wine with like spices. It was really good. You should definitely try it out if you go. Um, there's one thing about me that you should also know as well is that I don't know. I think I've talked about it in my previous videos before, but I'm the type of person to like travel with like an itinerary, and especially if I'm traveling by myself, that itinerary will get more neurotic. Like, if I'm traveling with other people, like I'm gonna have like kind of a list of like where we should be going for the day, and like if we have any reservations, like I have that highlighted. But that's pretty much like kind of how it goes. When I'm in a group, if I'm just me, I will fully be like, wake up at 8 in the morning, breakfast at 8:30. Like, I will have it by like the hour. But the thing is, I want you to know that like I only subject myself to that. Like, that is me. Like, if I'm traveling with a group, like if we have reservations, I'll be like, oh, like guys, like don't forget, like we have a reservation today, so we might have to like go really quickly to this place, or we have actually like a lot of time at this place. Or, like, I try to be more considerate, but when it's just me, I am not considerate with my with myself. So I pack my schedule to the brim. But that's fine. Anyways, I loved Copenhagen. Their food was amazing. A little on the expensive side, but it was delicious. Like, it was really good. My second place would be Japan, like I already said. Japan is really safe for solo travelers. I will say though, if you are not comfortable, okay, actually this brings up like a story with like Copenhagen. So Copenhagen, I tried to use the metro, and I got fined $400. let me tell you why. So I took the metro, and all of the metro, like, it's not even like Japan where I would be like, okay, like circle, dot, line, like, like I could kind of like make out some characters. And even then, like, the signs in Japan, the metros, because they know a lot of tourists are using them too, all of them have it in Japanese, and then below it it's in English, so it's a lot easier to follow. In Copenhagen, that was not the case. So I remember I bought my ticket, because the thing is, in Copenhagen, I got really confused, because there's like a day pass, there's like a pass for like an hour, then there's a pass for like certain zones, and there's a pass for like a day. There's like 90 different passes if you just want to go on the metro once or twice or like several times in one day. Like, there's like 90 different ones. And so I got confused, and I bought the one that's for an hour. And so I went down to like the platform level and everything. And I remember I asked this like really, really nice man. I was like, hey, like I'm trying to get to this place. How do I get there? And he goes, you're gonna have to go on that train over there. And I'm like, okay. I see it, and then I see that the next one doesn't come for like 10 minutes. Which, like, again, I was by myself. It was like already kind of in my itinerary, so I didn't really mind. And it was like kind of a day where I didn't have a lot of reservations already made. But anyways, I went on that train, and then there were like people checking, because the thing is, in Copenhagen, it's kind of like an honorary system. Like, there's no, like, nobody blocks you. Like, there's no like turnstiles for when you're going on the metro. It's kind of just like you tap, and like you kind of have to like honor that. And also because there's like people on the metro trains like checking to make sure that you have the correct ticket and that you actually paid. And so I was on the train, and I remember my 1 hour pass had like already passed because I got like lost getting to like where I needed to go. Like it was really confusing, and I didn't realize that. And also because I figured I was like, well, I'm already on the train. Like I'm just gonna get off at like one stop. Like I don't know. And this one lady, she comes nearby me, and I say she's an officer. I fully have the look of a tourist, which like in Copenhagen, well, duh. I'm like, I'm Latin American, like I'm tan. I am not blonde and blue eyed. Like, duh, I stand out. So she says to me in English, she goes, "Do you have your ticket?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I give her my ticket. She scans it, and she goes, "So your pass already expired, so you have to pay a fine." And I'm like, "Okay." And I'm not, in mind you, this is like my first solo trip ever. I'm not about to start arguing with authority. I would never do that, actually. And so I asked her, I was like, okay, how much is the fine? And she says to me in like Danish krona, which like in my head, I'm awful at math, and I think that like any money that is in US money, like I can't do the conversion really quickly in my head, especially for like their money. Like if like the equivalent to $5 is like 7,000, 10,000, like something like that, I'm like, that's not that bad. But anyways, so she like told me it was like around like it ended up being $400. I do remember that much. And she goes, you have to go online, you have to pay it. And I remember I stepped out of that metro station and I cried. I was like bawling my eyes out because I called my mom. And this was like my second year of like college. Like I'm fully a senior right now, but I digress. And so I called my mom and I'm like, Mom, like I just got fined $400. Like I don't know what to do. Like that was like an unexpected charge. And I'm blessed with parents that are like, well, if it's an unexpected charge, like we'll help you cover it. But like everything else on that trip, it was coming out of my own pocket. Because granted, it was a trip that I chose to do for me. So food, money, like money, transportation, souvenirs, all that I was covering. But my parents were like, listen, we'll help you with some of the food because like you do need that to live. But at the same time, like we get that like when you're traveling, you like get like sometimes like unexpected charges. So like we'll help you cover those. That was the story about how I got fined $400 on the Copenhagen Metro. After that, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna walk everywhere because I'm not about to pay like $30, 30 US dollars, or like was what was the equivalent to 30 US dollars for a Bolt for an Uber. And I'm not about to, go play around with the Danish metro again. Like that's just not gonna happen. So I would walk. Also because I was like, you know what? I get my steps in. Like, not bad. So I would pretty much walk everywhere. I will say the one loophole that I found was like, this was the one place. Copenhagen was the one place where I could justify doing like the hop on, hop off like bus tours because there were two spots. I remember to go see the Little Mermaid. It was like a little like very far off. So I was like, you know what? Like the whole ticket was like around 20, like it was like around 25 US dollars. I was like, you know what? I would rather do that, and it gets me to all the places I needed to get to. On like my sightseeing, because I paid for it one day, and I was like, I'm gonna hit all the major sites in one day, because like again, I'm traveling by myself, and for a lot of them, I already had like tickets booked and everything, so I was like, I'll be fine. And yeah, and ever since then, I did not use the metro in Copenhagen. But over the next night, that's when I met up with like the girls that I met at the hostel. Really, really sweet girls. And I told them I was like, I want to go clubbing, but I don't want to go by myself. And they're like, oh my god, we'll take you. Like, we'll go to like an Irish pub, and I'm like, I've never been to an Irish pub, and they're like, oh, we're definitely taking you then. And I'm like, okay. I remember we got there. We like kind of pre-gamed a little with like the beer that they gave us at the hotel. And then we all got ready, and then I left with them, and they were like best friends, and they were like doing like a little girls trip, and it was really fun. We went, and then I remember the place that we went to, it was like packed. There was like a section that was like just like the bar, and like there were people sitting and like having conversations. It wasn't quiet though, like it was all in one long place where like you would have like the bar slash like club area. And so when we went, I remember I was like walking by, and I turned to like my right, and I see this like guy that was like a very older like man, like he was like a grandpa, like it was like somebody's grandpa, and he was like fully dancing on the table like there was no tomorrow. And I'm like, sir, you're about to break a hip if you're not careful. Like not trying to tell you what to do here, but like if you're not careful, you will most definitely be breaking a hip. Anyways, but I had a lot of fun. We got towards like near the DJ booth. It was really fun. Met a lot of really cool and interesting people. Might have made out with one or two cool and said cool and interesting people, you know. But it was fun. And after that, we all went back to the hotel, and then like I remember the next day, like I was taking it kind of easy because I was a little bit hungover, if I'm gonna be honest. And then I left, but that was that. Japan was fun because Japan wasn't like when I was studying abroad. I took a lot of solo trips. Like for example, I went one time to Prague, and I saw that you could take like a day trip to Vienna, and I was like, if the tickets aren't that expensive, I was like, I have done enough buses because I took a flight to Prague. I took one of those god-forsaken Ryanair flights, but like, listen, they were cheap. That was like, I will say though, as somebody that was an overpacker, it was so difficult to be packing in one of these like Ryanair approved like backpacks. It was so difficult because I overpacked to the max. But I learned. I very quickly had to learn because it was either I learned or I would be paying like 40 euros for a bag I couldn't even justify like checking. But anyways, I remember I went to Prague. Prague was fun. I remember I had friends of mine that had already studied abroad in Prague, so I asked them, I was like, oh, like what's like a safe area? Like where should I go? Where shouldn't I go? And I'm lucky enough to have friends that like were giving me recommendations, and they were like, you should go here. You should not be walking in this area at, at this time of night. And Prague was like one of those places where it was like, I'm not about to go clubbing alone. And the hostel that I was staying at, it was actually really cool. It was in the area of like Prague 2, which is like a separate area of like Prague like proper. It was really cool because it was actually not that expensive, and because it wasn't that expensive, I wasn't expecting it to be so nice. But I booked like a like what I normally do, like a 4-person like female like room. And when I got there, the lady was like, okay, so you're going to be in the penthouse. And I'm like, what? She goes, yeah, I mean, you're going to have, like, you're basically going to have, like, a room, and you're just going to be sharing it with one other girl. And then the other 2 girls are going to be in the other room next to you. But you guys have your own kitchen. You have, like, 2 bathrooms. And there was, like, an upstairs and a downstairs. Like, I was like, wow, okay, damn, like, that's cool. Like, thanks. That was something that was like really interesting. Also because like Prague was so cheap that I was like, I'm gonna take the day trip to Vienna because I knew Vienna was expensive, and I was like, it doesn't fit in the budget that I had for traveling to be staying in Vienna and then going to Prague. In my head, I was like, also because I found more places to go to in Prague than I did in Vienna, so I was like, also, if any of you guys want one of my like itineraries, I could make them. I could make some itineraries. So, let me know. But anyways, I remember I will say though, all of this, like, I had to be like up at the butt ass crack of dawn. Like, I'm talking like I was out the door in Prague at 4 in the morning to go catch my train at 6. I will say though, people in Prague are not nice at the train station. Then again, it was really early, so like take what I'm gonna say with a grain of salt. Like it's really early in the morning. Like I wouldn't be nice that early in the morning either. But I feel like go to the lounge for the train because I had booked like a first class seat by accident because it was only like I think €2 more, and I was like done. And so I went to the lounge, and then when I went to the lounge, I was like, okay, so like where do I? Because all the signage was in, like, Czech. That's the language that they speak in Prague. Yes. But it was all in Czech. None of it was in English. And I'm like, granted, I'm in a foreign country. Like, obviously, I wouldn't expect them to speak English. But, like, I also would pull out Google Translate. And Google Translate also wouldn't get it. So I'm like, okay, so now I'm royally screwed. Because I don't want to miss my train. Because I do have, like, things that I already booked for Vienna. Because what I did was that I wanted to spend, like, the full day. Like, I would get to Vienna around, like, 9 in the morning. And then I remember I didn't even take the last train out. Because the last train out was, like, at 6 p.m. And I was like, I could be at dinner. Or like I kind of want to like see if, because there was this one really famous bar called the Anonymous Shrinks Bar, which like they put a bunch of like image like blobs of images in front of you, and you wouldn't know what the drink is. Like they fully ask you like, do you have any allergies? And so they would take some out based off your allergies, but you would get all these blobs of images, and then you'd have to pick one, and then you don't know what the drink is, you don't know what the drink has. You would just fully based like order based off of vibes, which I thought was really cool, and that was in Prague. And again, because I was traveling by myself, this is the beauty of solo travel. You can get in anywhere. Like I didn't know this, but reservations for this one bar had been booked out for months. But I got there, and I remember I go to like one of like the waitresses, because it was like a speakeasy, in like the like front, because it was like a restaurant first. And I asked her, I was like, oh, for the bar, easy. I don't have a reservation. And she was like, how many are you? And I'm like, oh, I'm just one person. She goes, okay, we can sit you down in like 20-30 minutes. I'm like, great. So I sat down. I didn't even have a beer, because I was like, I knew that I was like gonna be like having a drink anyways, and I knew that Vienna was expensive, so I was like, I'm just gonna wait. Met this lovely lady, a little crazy, I'm not gonna lie, but she was really sweet. She took a really good photo of me, which I was like, if you know me, I'm like, oh, we're like this. Um, she was like on a business trip, and it was like just her, and I'm like, so let me get this straight. You have like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in your bank account, and meanwhile then there's me. But cool. Great. Either way, like I kept her contact info, and like I haven't reached out to her, but like in the she told me, she's like, if you ever need anything, let me know. So this is what comes with like solo traveling too. You get to meet such interesting people, and people that like you wouldn't meet otherwise. But no, I went there. I spent the entire day in Vienna. Really fun. That was like one of my solo trips. I'm thinking about like another one of my solo trips. Okay, so this one I'm gonna run through it pretty quickly, because it's a little funny but a little embarrassing at the same time. So the program that I did in Paris sometimes had like programs like on the weekend that like the spots would book up so quick. Like there was a croissant making class, there was a perfume making class, like, and I remember I was like, I'm not the best at cooking. Really, I'm not, but I feel like I'm in one of the culinary like capitals of the world. So how hard can it be? Right? Right? And I'm like, okay, I'll take a group class. That way I'm like, if I mess up, it's not entirely my fault. So I signed up for one of the group classes, and we were making risotto. Mind you, I had never had risotto up to this point, so I was like, oh no, but it looks really good. Like, it had like chicken risotto, like, okay, cool, great. It had like mushrooms. Up to that point, I had no problem with mushrooms. And then, you know, it was a cooking class, so there was like 20 of us, and all of us were kind of like working on the same step, like by turns. So when the dish was made and all of us, you know, like were served and everything, we're all eating it, you know, and I thought it was good. And that same day, I was traveling to this little town in France called Troyes, which is in English like Troy. And it's like known as like the stained glass like city, because it has like a cathedral and a museum of stained glass. And like, little fun fact, that's where they make all the stained glass for all the cathedrals in France, and a good majority of them in like Spain, and some of them for Italy as well. So I thought it was really cool. That wasn't the reason why I went, but I wanted to go somewhere that wasn't super like touristy, and because it was like towards the end of my semester, and I wanted to keep practicing my French. So I was like, I want to go somewhere where they speak zero English, and it very much was that. But anyways, I was at that point in my budget where I was like, I'm taking a Flixbus, and I did. But I'm gonna finish speedrunning through this, but I feel like this is an interesting story. So that night, I start feeling really bad. Like, I start feeling really sick, and I'm like, oh, maybe it's just motion sickness. No, I had given myself food poisoning in a group cooking class. Yeah. Which, like, you would think, oh, okay, so like, everybody else got food. No, nobody else got food poisoning. Just me. Because that is my luck with cooking. Yeah. But anyways, that was, like, a lot of, like, my more interesting, like, solo travel stories and, like, travel stories. I feel like this would be, like, a really fun video to, like, share. Because I was like, you know what, like, I feel like I have some interesting, like, travel stories where I could also like pass on some knowledge for it, like maybe to like, for example, do not take the Copenhagen Metro because you will get lost and you will probably get fined $400. Do take the Japanese Metro because it is really cheap, and also all the signage is also in English. So I will say like the metro in Tokyo specifically, you would have to like, I would have to follow like the exit by like the number, because I remember there was like one stop, and it wasn't even like the one of the super busiest ones. But there was this one stop where I would get out, and the exit would have like 12 different exits, and I would be like, so I fully don't know where I'm going. But anyways, yeah. And also, if you take a cooking class in Paris, don't take one that's making an Italian dish. So there's my lore with that. But yeah, I hope that you guys have found this entertaining. I will see you guys in next week's episode. But yeah, bye.